I hear some bells ringing. Manuel?
I hear that's the same thing too.
And that means that it's 6 o'clock in Copenhagen, and that means that an event that I've been looking very, very much forward to is actually now happening live. Hi, Emmanuel, welcome. First of all to you, it's great to see you again.
Thank you, Adam. You're the spirit of the Play with a Pro. You know, I know there's a lot of other people also in there, and it's really
no Play with a Pro without you. We will just hang on out there. We'll be with you just in 1 second. Okay, we're back. Sorry for that. First time doing this ever. Despite of lots of testing, this is what happens. Anyways, again, welcome to you, Manuel. And as I start saying, without you, I don't think we would have a Play with the Pro.
well. It's great to be part of this big enterprise. You know, lots of people, lots of young students come to us worldwide. Or with formal goal of teaching an academy somewhere, and there's always the same recurring questions happening in the standard repertoire. Looks like concertos, like orchestra lectures, like the standard Poulenc and all, concerts and all, and these kind of things. Then there's typical questions regarding what is the French field school, how do you consider yourself, how it is to play in an orchestra, such as the Philharmonic, how it is to play the solos, how do you manage, how much you practice, what kind of practice do you do, how you keep yourself fit. All these things, I guess you got many more questions, and the viewers right now, it's your time really to go on your keyboards and ask us questions in this live chat. I think you gathered some questions already.
We
had
lots of questions already ticking in, and I should say there's come now a small thing here on the screen where you can see where to write your questions to. Sebastian, could you please put on the text so people can see where to write to? Because we have a lot of viewers actually on live stream where they can chat directly in, but we also have lots of people on the actual website. So here is the text or the mail, contact at Play with a Pro, write your questions and Emmanuel will answer them. Okay guys, first question, Emmanuel.
I'm going to try to answer these questions.
Yeah.
You know, it's a kind of one way masterclass, because you see me, but I don't see you. So you know a bit more about me.
Yeah.
Than I know about you.
That's right.
Watching your screen. But I'm very happy that you get a chance to ask your question, the thing that you always wanted to ask. And didn't have the opportunity till now. Yeah. So let's give it up. Let's start.
And also just to so you know, we only have 1 hour, so we should get started now. So there will not be time to answer all questions. Okay, but I think it could be fun, Emmanuel, to start really far away from India. There's a guy called Manav Ganjo. Manav Ganjo says, I'm a student in Mumbai, India, and I'll be attending the live talk with Mr. Emmanuel Pøhl. I would like to ask him the question, what is the correct technique to produce a good vibrato, and does this change for different styles of music?
Vast subject. It's about as vast as the country you're sending this message from. It's a vibrato. The vibrato thing is as vast as a continent. There are so many different vibratos as there are flute players. Listen to singers, listen to different cultures, and you will hear very different sound, very different kinds of vibratos also. The same thing happens on the flute. And it's not because you've been trained in one school that you learned vibrate in the same way. It has a lot to do with sensitivity. Imagine, now if you can look maybe on the side, the air comes from the lungs up towards the head. I imagine it goes up in the head and then goes down, and it's then expelled through the mouth. And these points here give us the opportunity to create a kind of turbulence. With this turbulence, the air starts vibration that just goes into the sound as something like we call vibrato. But of course, other people think about it very differently. That's the way I think about it. I know it's not a scientific way. And to talk about vibrato, but that's the way I feel about it, and I think a lot about flute playing or about wind playing, since we don't see what is happening actually with the air, is about sensations, about what you feel inside your body. And what I really do think is that I send the air all the way up into my head, and then it comes down, like all of the water circuits that's below a faucet, basically. It goes the same way, up, then down, and then up and out. And all you're going all this way, then the air gets loaded with your imagination, with some vibrations, with some turbulence, and then comes out in a controlled manner, thanks to the lips, where it then hits the head right properly. I'm going to try to give you an example, because you shouldn't see any difference here in the throat or with the lips. It's not produced by narrowing the airstream here with the throat or by cutting it, otherwise it's going to go like sliced. Now, if you want to play something with a nice and open vibrato, independently from what the fingers are actually doing, then you're going to I don't see anything happening neither here in my mouth, neither in the throat. Nor, I can assure you, nothing is happening also with the lungs. I'm not shaking my upper body or anything in order to produce the vibrato. So it's really something that happens inside the body that you cannot see, and it's certainly just sustaining the sound and not slicing it. I like to make a comparison with a string instrument. So with a string instrument, you can see the bow, you can see the vibrato. With the fingers on the strings. Well, the same thing is happening with the air string. The air string is basically the bow, and the vibration of the string should be also happening here somewhere. But how exactly this is happening? There have been some studies that try to analyze this and try to make it more scientific, but I haven't read anything really seriously scientific about this. And sorry if there are great scientists that try to look into this. I haven't read all the reports, of course, and there's a lot of ongoing surveys about what is actually happening while we're playing music, but I know that most medical studies are more about what is happening in the brain and in the chemistry.
Okay. That was a fantastic answer. I hope you got some out of it from India. The next one. Emmanuel, is from Judy Conrad, who writes to you from Phoenix, and she writes the following. I teach at an after-school music program for low-income children here in Phoenix. Aperture. What changes do you suggest for registered leaps and also going from pianissimo to fortissimo and back? And generally, what is a good embouchure for playing? Flute. So there are many questions.
Yeah, I think if you try to control intervals or dynamics with the lips, then you go the wrong path, you go the wrong road. It's a winded instrument, it's not a lip instrument. All the other instruments are controlled directly in terms of vibration or strength with the lips. All brass instrument, all of the wind instrument, reed instruments, you do hold the instruments between your lips or between your teeth. And there is a direct contact, physical contact. On the flute, it's not the case. We blow on top of the instrument. That's already kind of sound. I'm not even touching the flute. There's about 2 inches. And the closer I get, the more precise I gotta get. Then I try to make it cleaner. If you blow too much on the side, then you're going to spill some air and it's going to sound dirty. blow really in the middle of that wall, the front wall of the head joints, then this is really going to be clean and nice. And sound. Of course, it takes years. It takes years to know where you're actually standing, particularly with the different embouchure that you adopt. And this is what you're referring to, I guess. In the beginning, when you want to play with a very high pressure in the high notes, or with a very low pressure in the lower notes. But let me give you an example of something that goes up and down, and where I do not move the lips much at all. Goes for a long while. This is Joachim Andersen's concert study, Opus 15, number 3 in G major, and it really goes like arpeggios throughout the range of the instruments. When you're playing an Ibert concerto in the third movement in the cadenza, we have legato throughout the range of the instrument. If you look at what happened with my lips while I was playing this, not much is happening. You cannot see much. I'm just trying to absorb the shocks with the lips and with the air cushion that I'm using to play the flute. The air pressure has to be achieved inside your body. With the same fingering, with more pressure, you're playing the second octave. With less pressure, you're playing the first octave. And then with more complicated fingerings, mostly by opening this first key, what would be an octave key on all other woodwind instruments, then you get into the third octave. And then also with even more air pressure. But whether you use a lot of airstream or a very thin airstream, this is going to define the dynamics. So, of course, you should see something in the opening here. It should be wider when you need more air, when you send more air, and need more volume, and it should be narrower when you need less air when you want to play piano. This is why people who squeeze the lips, who tighten the lips whenever they want to play louder and more expressive, are not going to play any louder. They're going to play sharper, they're going to play dirtier in the sound, but it's not going to sound any louder.
Okay, that was another great explanation. Here comes another one, Emmanuel. Are you ready? I can tell you, it's funny, in Copenhagen it's usually not very warm, but when Emmanuel comes to town, then temperature rises to, we're sitting here like in a sauna. Anyways, here's a question from Joy, and she has a question very simple one. What are your daily warm-ups?
Well, daily warm-ups is It's a bit like when you wake up in the morning, and whether you like tea or coffee or muffins or toast or whatever, you're always gonna get a bit of a fresh a fresh start into the day, and this is exactly what you need to do with the warm-up exercise. You need to get all these fingers and the lips go get loose. In order to be able to play well. So I suggest something like 15 to 30 minutes of exercise. Whether it's scales, arpeggios, you take Tafanel and Gobert number 6 or number 10, for instance. The arpeggios would be something like what you are doing with the fingers in order to keep something really very smooth with the fingers. Play legato not only with the air but also with the fingers. Not too loud, not too softly, just mezzo forte, something easy, but just move around up and down in the key that you're playing. Then you can also go to another daily exercise by Tafanel and Gobert, the scales. And try to be as musical as possible. When you play this, be gentle to you, to your neighbors, to your family, to whoever lives with you. And play some music. Don't just play stupid exercise, because if you practice stupidly, you will learn how to play stupidly. You've got to practice beauty, you've got to practice art. A technical exercise is not just a technical exercise. It means something if you're incorporating it into music. So whatever you're doing on the instrument, when you take your flute, cherish it and play some music. Make music out of any movement that you're doing with this instrument. That's the most important thing that you've got to do in the routine. Then there's another exercise I'd like to point at. It's also called daily exercise. If you do all that program daily, this is going to be much more than half an hour. I'll explain some variations just after this. But you should not repeat the same thing every day, but have a plan, a schedule where every 4 or 5 days you get back to what you've been doing 4 or 5 days ago. So you don't do exactly the same thing every day, but you've got your kind of set of exercises that keep you well in shape and keep you your fingers and your air control, the articulation and the lips really working well together. The other good exercise is by Mathieu André Reichert from his 7 daily exercises, number 4, because it's a very nice walk through the key. This is something that's going to help you when you're playing Poulenc or Prokofiev or Beethoven or Schubert or Mozart. It goes like this. There you not only have the notes that are in one key, but you also turning around these notes. Just like when you're playing a Mozart concerto. That you find in these daily exercises, all these turns and curves within the key, around the key. This is what composers are using. Now, all these exercises you can play in every key, which means from the lower B and breathe whenever you need to breathe, but just do it nicely and properly. Take time to do it, no stress, just to make it really nice and deep and relaxed breath. Now, after this, you go to the octave higher, as long as you can. So. Going to the top G, so you have another lot of keys that you will be able to octaviate and play an octave higher before you get to the top C, and even there it doesn't end. You can also practice further with top C sharp, top D, and then once it gets really too loud for everybody and just not playable anymore with the fingerings, then of course you just stick to the lower octave. For the scales, Michel Debos, one of my teachers, has published a very interesting collection of exercise, articulation, tempos, dynamics, phrasings for scales that go really crazy, like for instance, that's one also go. Crescendo, diminuendo, but you can also do the opposite. You can invent your own exercise, your own variations. And by practicing this with all combinations, with all tempos, etc., you can really combine and never practice exactly the same, even practicing every day these exercises by having a plan of starting with a different articulation in a different key. It was going to take about 30 days until you get back to the combination that you had in the beginning. So during 1 month, you'll be practicing different things every day. And this is how to keep healthy on the instrument. Don't practice mistakes, practice making music.
Great, Emmanuel. There are so many.
I'll try to be brief now. I just wanted to make a point on certain basics.
Sure.
On the first answers, but I think these things are we're gonna find ourselves repeating these kind of things. So I'll try to avoid stressing the same points again and try to be as colorful as possible. And addressing the issues in a shorter manner.
But no, it's fantastic. I'm sure all of you guys will just take this in and get a lot of inspiration from it. I think it's wonderful. But yes, there are many, many questions now, so it's a little difficult for me to pick, but I picked one here. Hello, thank you for this wonderful possibility to ask you something, Emmanuel. And this is a very different kind of question. I play quite a lot of distance at the moment. Luckily, I pass most of the time through the first round, but it's difficult for me to stay concentrated for the next rounds. Do you have a tip for me how you can manage auditions over many hours, waiting and play perfectly concentrated at this one moment? And this is from Alina Weidlich.
From?
Yeah, she doesn't write, I guess. She's from Germany, actually. Yeah, she is from Detmold, Germany.
Detmold, Germany, right, okay. So I know a bit about the audition process in Europe, which is quite different from the way it happens in the United States, or it can happen in Asia, China, or Japan. Now, of course, in Europe, everybody's invited to show up in the beginning of the audition, and then you never know when you're going to play, because they pick a letter to start with, and then they're going to go alphabetically from that letter. So if you're letter A and you're not lucky, you're going to be last. And this is like waiting a long time, and by the time the discussion has been happening about who's going to stay for the next round, there's another big amount of time that has been happening, but it's not precise. It doesn't say the first round is going to start at 9, the second round is going to start at 1, and the third round is going to start at 2, because you can never tell. It really depends on how many candidates are going to be selected for the next round, and how many have played, and for how long the discussion will be. How to stay concentrated. First of all, you've got to prepare not only the first round well, but all the other rounds, all the pieces that you're going to play, and you've even got to be better on the pieces that you have to play for the finals, because this is where the competition is getting more serious. If somebody's together with you in the next round, serious. So therefore, you're going to be even better than in the first round. It's always good to have a good start, but it's even better if you use that and capitalize on it by knowing your pieces for the second round, for the third round, or for the finals even better than the ones for the first round. That's the first thing. And a lot of people go to competitions or auditions with orchestra just saying, oh yeah, well I prepared the first round because anyway I know I'm going to go through. No, you go to competition, to an audition to win. Otherwise, you don't need to go. And I don't mean this for you personally, of course. Ask this question, but this is a general thing to do. Why go to a competition or to an audition if it's just to just for a walk, or just to say hi, or just to test how you keep up with the others, or that's not the point. Now the other thing is, well, you know, when you start playing, you see how long, once you've played, or once the first person has played, you see more or less how long it lasts per candidates, and how long it's going to be. More or less you calculate and multiply it by the number of candidates, and then you figure out when you're going to play, or how long it's going to be till they start discussing, until they're going to tell you the results. And so you have a rough idea about when it should go on. Just be there always 1 hour ahead, so that then you're never surprised. And you're not caught by surprise. And then have the same procedure every time in the hour that you before you should be playing. Then just practice a little bit. Practice the same exercise you would just to warm up. Just to make sure that you keep in shape and everything is oiled and really going well, that you're warm and that you're ready to play at any moment. And do not focus too much on the pieces that you're playing on that day, because you might just overdo it also and just force it a little bit, and that's not what you want to do. So if you're really well prepared, this is what you can do best. On that day, is forget about the competition as much as you can, of course. In order to play some music, because as a jury member on the panel, I would say that's what you want to hear. When somebody comes there and a candidate makes you forget about the situation of the audition or the competition.
Great. Here comes another one from Rachel Barker. Hello, it's an honor to write to you. I often get stiff fingers and cramps in my hand. My technique is good, but I still continue to suffer the strains. Is there a different posture I could try?
You know, without seeing your posture, it's really difficult, and without seeing you, anyway, it's really difficult to answer this question. Obviously, if you talk about pain and strain, yes, there's a problem with your posture, definitely. So there are different postures that you should try. Not knowing your age either. I don't know if it's a medical situation or if it's just something that you can take care of yourself. weight of the instrument has to be resting on, not on the fingers. So if you hold your flute like this on the sides, you're going to grab it really tight. And you're going to have a lot of stress on each finger. And this is really going to be very tiring. This is probably what's going to hurt. But try as much as possible to have both hands below the instrument so that the weight naturally lies on the arms, on both arms. This one is being more in the center, and this one just lifting a little bit and helping. And then on the wrists and the arms naturally, without any strain, without any strength, just naturally. It's easy to say, I know. We're all different. So we have different arm length, we have different flexibility of the joints here, etc. So we're all going to have different postures here. Here also with the fingers. I'm not particularly flexible, therefore the limit of how much I can bend backwards here is reach very quickly. Nevertheless, I have absolutely no problem holding the flute. By keeping as much as possible, again, the wrists below the instruments. Sometimes you might want to go a little bit further up with the right hand, but always try to keep these fingers as round as possible on the instrument so that you can really play. When I say think that you're playing legato with the fingers, because if you start grabbing and just if you see a white spot looking at yourself in a mirror, here at the end of the fingers on the keys, this means that you're grabbing much too hard. It's going to be more relaxed, and it's going to be the color of the fingers should not be changing while you're pressing on the instrument. I myself can play 8 hours, 10 hours every day, rehearsing in the Chamber Music Festival and then performing the concert in the evening. Absolutely no problems with the lips, no problems with the jaws, with the neck, the shoulders, with the back, with the fingers, with the arms, whatever. The first thing that needs a break is brain. This is what is working hardest actually when you're playing music, is you always think about what you're going to play next, always controlling what you are playing right now, and always reacting to what you just heard. At the previous note that you've been playing, and adjusting and correcting if it's too loud, if it's too, I don't know, if you missed the note, or if it's too short or too long, depending, adjusting on the acoustics, adjusting on the other instruments around you. All of that is what is happening. So the brain work is actually the most demanding one, and for concentration purpose, you should always take a break after 1.5 hours. At the latest, 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. Then you should take a little break. 10-15 minutes, get some air, fresh air, get some water also, and then go back to work or to practice. For me, it's go back to life, basically, because playing the flute or playing music is just my life. I don't consider it being working.
Great, Emmanuel. Here comes a very different question, and it's from far away. It's actually from Iran. Hello, I'm Yasaman, and I'm from Iran. Dear Mr. Poe, I have a thick lower lip and a teardrop and long front teeth. My teacher told me that you have a physical problem and you can't play the flute, although I can make the sound of every note after almost 1 year. What do you suggest me? What kind of embouchure should I have to make a beautiful sound?
I guess this goes beyond what I can give you now. I don't have a magic recipe for what kind of embouchure makes a proper sound. We are, again, all different. I should look into your need for expression. And now that you can play all the notes on the instrument after a year of playing, if your teacher says that your teeth are too big, or your lower lip is too big, or that your nose is too short, or your ears are shaped in a manner that's not appropriate to play the flute, well, you know, look at the people playing Indian flute, for instance. These are much bigger instruments. The keys are there are no keys on the bamboo musical flute. And you have to cover the holes not with the tip of the fingers, but with the middle of the fingers, because they're so far apart that you could not possibly reach them with your hand like this. And then there's some tiny people look at Hari Shaurasia, how he plays this flute. He plays on the left side because it's more comfortable for him. Now we have a problem with the camera because we set up everything
okay.
to play the flute on the other side. But it's really a very weird thing to have a flute player playing on the other side. Obviously, from the two Doppler brothers, Franz Doppler and his brother were playing duets together, and one was playing on the left side and the other one on the right side, which made it very impressive concerts also to see the brothers performing these pieces together. Back to your question with the embouchure. There's no proper embouchure. The only proper embouchure is the one that allows you to make music, to make something. If I was seeing you, I could probably help you. But without this information, of course, there's not much I can tell that's really gonna make it physically different for you, because there are so many places to put the flute here. I don't think that putting the flute below the lower lip is any helpful. This is too low for most of the people. Because of the lip covering the hole of the head joint here. Now, the head joint should always be halfway on the lip. Depending on the size of the lip, it's going to be in a different position, of course. This is obvious. But since you're able to make good sound and play all the notes on the instrument, go on.
Great. Emmanuel, lots of questions are ticking in now concerning tonguing, double tongue, single tongue, speed of tonguing, how you make it light, your tonguing. But there's one here that, well, this is one out of many. So I hope we can kind of cover all those by answering this one. Maybe from Winter Rosales, and he says, "Hi, my name is Winter Rosales from Nicaragua, and I want to know how do you practice your double tongue." But as I said, there have been many, many other questions about single tonguing and double tonguing, maybe even triple tonguing. Something that's also covered, of course, as you say, a video did some years ago, flute fundamentals, but I think this is a great opportunity to dig into it once again.
Yeah. How do you practice double tongue? I don't know if you mean how do you learn double tonguing, or how do I personally practice to keep up with double tongue every day. You have to know that we professional players are playing every day. We are rehearsing, performing. We are using all these techniques every day, so we don't have to have practice to keep up with it, because we are using it every day. It's part of our knowledge, and it's part of what we can do. Now I understand when you're students, of course, you don't have as many opportunities to play, but you are practicing every day. And while you practice, discover repertoire, discover pieces that have you play some staccato, that you discover other pieces that have you play some legato. And this is where you can practice double tonguing best by repeating notes. Whenever you have a melody, or whether you have a piece with some staccato single notes, then start repeating that note and make sure that the second note, rather rather than which is too hard with the tonguing. Remember, the sound is produced with the air on this instrument. It's a wind instrument. It's not produced by the tongue. If you go too hard with the tongue, you're it's going to block the air. That's not what we want. What we want is to liberate the air. The tongue is actually just surfing on top of the airstream, and it's just liberating the air. It's just precising, refining the beginning of a note. Tonguing a note doesn't mean short. It just means that it's articulated in its beginning. Then the length of the notes can be long, middle, short, very short, whatever. You have as many combinations as your imagination or the imagination of the composer requires it. But take, for instance, there's the phrase in flute solo in the midst of a night dream by Mendelssohn. Depending on the conductor, it's going to be a very different character, a very different tempo. I'm not going to get into that thing right now, but just to let you know, there is not one way to play it. There's just 1,000 ways of playing it. And as a musician in an orchestra, you're going to have to be able to answer to whichever request comes from the conductor. And if they want something longer, you'll have to play problem is, on the flute and any wind instrument, everything is happening inside. You don't see much. Of course, if I see you playing, I see how you breathe. I see how you hold your instrument. I see how much stress you put on yourself. I see how you cope with it. I see what you're made of and how you use what you're made of, and there I can help you doing these kind of things. Now, your question about how to practice tonguing, or how do you keep with tonguing like this, just start with repeated notes and then go to some other pieces where you use the double tonguing, and go rather for dega 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 da, which is softer and more efficient in terms of tone projection, rather than taka taka ta, because this is going to interrupt the airflow, and therefore it's going to be much too sharp and not loud enough in order to carry.
Great. Okay. A very different question now, Emmanuel. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's getting hot in here. Okay. This one is from a very different part of the world. This is from Kansu Altunay. Excuse me if I don't pronounce his name right, but he's from Turkey. And he says, hello, I'm Kansu from Turkey. I want to ask that if we have to take a break, for example, for a few months for medical reasons, how can we start practicing again without injuring ourselves? Mm-hmm. If you have tried that, Emmanuel.
I cannot possibly imagine how you can injure yourself with this thing. This is my problem. I'm afraid I don't even have the faintest idea of what you're talking about.
I think he means, for instance, if you go on your bicycle and you break your arm and you don't play the flute maybe for, let's say, 3 months, and you have to start again, and then it can be a pain in the butt to start again.
I think every doctor, after an accident or an operation, they will always say, if you feel that you want to walk, try. Right.
Yeah.
So if you feel you want to play the flute, give it a try. If you cannot hold the instrument, just take the head joint and just slide your finger in the head joint and you go. You can produce many sounds, but at least you can keep this going. Or if you cannot hear, if you injured your lips or you got the cut here in the face or something, then take the flute and just practice a piece by fingering on the rest of the instrument. These are just examples right now, but it's really out of the blue and maybe not responding at all to your actual situation and why you are asking this question. I personally had a couple of bicycle accidents, and the latest one was 1 hour before a concert in the Philharmonie in Berlin, but I actually went on stage with some disinfectant and some paper and just was drying my hands, then playing the flute for 2 minutes, and then the next possibility was drying my hands and disinfecting them again and making sure this was not too, this was just saying, okay, and now a good year later, my hands are absolutely clean and nothing happened. But nothing worse than this.
Right.
So I just hope that it's nothing worse than this.
Yeah.
For you too.
Personally, I have a colleague who practices watching soccer, you know, just the fingers. this instrument? Is it kind of the same? Let's say you have a problem with your lips or your tongue. Could be something like that. Well, why not watch some soccer game and while you actually just keep your fingers going, just so the muscles, get smooth. That's another way they do it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of musicians, if they're